Hi, my name is Dr. Anza, and I have been both a dentist for 4 years now and a cosplayer for 10 years starting this year. I graduated from Dow University of Health Sciences back in 2019, and I did work as a dentist for a while, but I started working as a writer and a cosplayer since 2020, I want to say. I was always interested in anime and writing in general. I was a writer as a kid. I would win awards for essay writing and stuff, and anime is something, comic books, cartoons, you get into when you were a child, and that journey just stuck with me. I never really grew out of being a child. One of the main obstacles we face as women is the fact that we're never given any opportunities, right? For example, geek culture, comic book culture is so male-dominated, especially in a country like Pakistan, that women aren't really given any access to enjoy those things, which is where Comic Cons have gone a very long way in allowing opportunities for women. For example, me. I started cosplaying and really embracing the things I love because I started going to Comic Cons starting 2013, 2014. So the biggest challenges we face as women is just being allowed the opportunity to explore the things we want to, aside from just, like careers or anything. We're allowed to choose our passions as we want. So one of the more weirder things you face as a cosplayer is men trying to be very up close to you. Okay, oh, you like these things. Maybe we should be best friends and stuff like that. Or the best way I've overcome this is by creating boundaries. People having questions, okay, why are you doing this? When you're so grown up, you shouldn't be doing these things. The other obstacles we face is just men being weird about us. Okay, like, oh, why are you dressed up as this? Or why are you doing this? Or can I be your friend? And the best way of tackling something like that is just obstructing and creating boundaries. For example, if I am a cosplayer, I have a separate cosplay page that is separate from my main Instagram pages, so that people can engage in there whatever they want to, and they don't come into my family life or anything. Okay, so again, that goes back on the boundaries thing. I like creating boundaries with everything I do. For example, there is me, Dr. Anza, the dentist. Then there is me, Dr. Anza, the writer. And then there's me, my cosplayer side, right? So each thing has a separate outlet in my life. I don't let them overcome the other. For cosplaying, I have a friend circle. For my real life, I have a friend circle. And then my family are very actually supportive of what I do. My mother has always had my back ever since my father died about doing cosplaying and stuff. And even my father back when he was alive was very, very happy about the things I enjoyed. So for me, family has never been much of an issue. Work might have been, but then I started writing about anime anyways. So it's like my work and my hobbies kind of just combined together. There are a lot of anime I like because of my job, which is to write about anime. I write for a site named Animevania, so I have watched countless anime over the years, right? My favorite anime is called Violet Evergarden, and I like it because it explores trauma and relationships, not just, romantic relationships, but like parental relationships or the relationships of how it's to lose a parent or lose a child. And it's very beautiful. Like I said, my father was a doctor, right? So I followed in his footsteps. He was target killed in 2013. So when I watched Violet Evergarden and seeing how they dealt with how it was to lose a parent or lose someone, it was very beautiful to see. And that's what anime does. It takes these stories from your life and makes them into something more magical, something that you can process easier. What actually started me on writing about anime was the fact that I was already writing for medical related stuff because, again, my profession. So while I was there, I applied for a job that my friend sent me this, hey, this might be perfect for you because you're into these things. I'm like, nobody's gonna actually take me seriously for that. So I wrote this 15-minute thing on a character being this very big feminist icon in anime. And for some reason, my employers really loved that. And I got into it. And this was in early 2022, and I have been at this job ever since. So this would be for the very first time I cosplayed, which was in October 2013 at the Japanese consulate. This was an event that was happening at PC, right? I made my own cosplay, you know, needle and thread, kapda pakad ke pura banaya. And it was a very bad cosplay. It wasn't really good. But I remember just entering that space, and before that I was very depressed. I entered and I saw what is now my best friend. She is one of the best people I've ever met, and she was cosplaying a character I really loved. And she screamed my name and I screamed her name, and it was so much fun. It was so heartwarming to realize that there were more people like me that enjoyed the things I liked. And ever since then, every time I go to a con and a child comes up, for example, a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old, and they're like, oh my God, you're cosplaying my favorite character. I love what you're doing with this. And I tell them, oh no, you know, I did this as well. And because I did STEM as well, but I'm into arts as well. It really makes them happy, and their parents get really excited about it. So I think my favorite memory from all the cons is just meeting these people that both inspire you and are inspired by you. One of the misconceptions that people have about anime is that it's just for children, which is very odd because it really isn't. They're just like most forms of media. They are made for different ages. For example, there are anime that exist for 2-year-olds, and then there are anime that exist for 18+ crowds, which have gore, which have genocide, which have death and trauma, and how to deal with all of these things. One of the scariest pieces of media is written by a person that was originally a manga or anime artist, Junji Ito. And you know, when you realize that anime is made for a different amount of people, it has different audiences that can connect to, you start to realize that there is something out there for everyone. So even if you think you might not like an anime right now, I have met people who said they hated anime, and then like at 25 and 26, they're like, oh, did you watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners? That's so cool. Or did you watch Chainsaw Man? And that's so cool. Like, you know, people start to change their tune when they start watching anime that is meant for their age. There are, ever since I was like, I remember being like 5 years old, and the first anime I ever watched was Sailor Moon. And Sailor Moon was the first time I saw like a female character be in the limelight of being the heroine. You know, she wasn't being rescued by a man, or, you know, she was constantly threatened by a man and she needed someone else to save her. Sailor Moon was the heroine of her own story. She saved all of these people. And her friends, the people that helped her, the Sailor Scouts, weren't men either. They were all women. But at the same time, she wasn't just this like heroic, super cool character, you know, Usagi, her name, Serena. She used to cry a lot. Her nickname was the Crybaby, and they showed a very humane side of a heroine. Normally, female characters or female heroes can only be either strong or, you know, strong or impressive, or they have to be meek and embarrassing. That's not true. There's a middling ground for them. So Sailor Moon, characters like Tsunade, who again kind of inspired me being a doctor from Naruto, because she was a doctor and she was really, you know, she was beautiful. She kept herself very groomed and everything, but at the same time, she had the power of like, what, 1,000 men or something like that. Characters like these I really love relating to, or like to relate to, because I like to think that just because of the way I am or my gender, there aren't any limitations. I wanted to get bigger. It already has grown so much in the past 10 years, but I want to see it become even more inclusive, even more mainstream as it is. Right now, the biggest con we had was a con that was last by Cave in Karachi, and I know it had an attendance of at least 500 plus people, maybe 1,000, I'm not sure. But it was just amazing seeing so many people that connected over this one thing of comic books, of anime, of pop culture in general. And you had artists coming in, you had different movie productions being happening that is inspired from animation and anime in Pakistan. And what I want to see from the community now is being even more, I guess, again, inclusive. Because this is the one hobby that doesn't discriminate based on your gender or your age or where you're from, or even the socioeconomic class you come in. I'm a middle class girl, right? And I do most of my cosplays pretty much on a budget. So a lot of my cosplays are just like milk cartons or chart paper I find from the stationery shop. But there are women out there, specifically women, that are doing like proper armor builds and like making these huge props that you wouldn't expect. The other thing I really love seeing from this community is the fact that we're including more hijabi cosplayers now, which again, like I said, it doesn't discriminate. The character I was cosplaying last time, there was a woman who was cosplaying a hijabi version of her, and she looked amazing doing it. International Women's Day for me is a little sad because of the misconceptions that come from it. People think it's, oh, you know, women trying to overcome the streets or whatever, when really it's the one day we have to, again, ask for the things we need. Because women in Pakistan do not have the same standing as men. We can't walk the streets without fearing for our lives. We can't go about and do our business without thinking that somebody might be staring at us. I myself, when I used to go to university, I used to go on a public transport system, and I had to fear being either followed or stared at or even harassed, because simply said, the streets are not safe for women in Pakistan. And I want to keep occupying this space. I want to welcome more women into that space. I want to pick up every girl who's ever felt discriminated against because, oh, they weren't nerdy enough, or they were not, you know, they weren't the proper gender to follow those hobbies of theirs. I want them to know it's completely okay to do it in any capacity you want. You want to be a hyper femme cosplayer, do that. You want to cosplay your favorite guy character, go do that. Nothing should stop you from pursuing your dreams, even if they are as silly as cosplaying your favorite character. Just do what you want, because as women, you should be allowed that.